Hey, what's up, guys? So I am currently cranked on like 3 cups of coffee. So I apologize if I am not understandable or comprehensible at the moment. So today I thought while we were driving, I would go over some information that I read about today. I had like 10 minutes before class, so I was just sitting and reading. And an idea I had come up with earlier this week, which is what I was reading about, was the psychology of units and the psychology of the game. So this can be, either... Come on, guy, go. Alright. So this can be either the Warhammer 40k, or it can be Age of Sigmar, whichever you choose you want it to be. Make your decision. And pretty much I'm gonna talk about ways to kind of like psychologically defeat your opponent is what I'm gonna speak about here. So one thing I started reading about was specifically your unit selection. This is basically talking about, what type of units are you using that are either going to be distractors or, are going to be some sort of an annoyance to your opponent. So it's basically like, are you going to be using like Nagash, or, are you going to have a Land Raider on the table, or something that's really overpowered, that's really going to draw your opponent's eye from across the table. He's going to be worried about what is that character doing, more so than what the rest of your army is doing. So, in a way, this kind of can be a cheap move. You can be kind of a jerk, or whatever you guys want to say about it, about this. Like, I know definitely, if you bring a powerhouse unit, you're definitely going to want to warn your opponent, because if you keep doing that continuously against the same person or against a variety of people, it's going to become kind of a common theme, and they're going to realize it, and they're not going to want to play you anymore. So this is something to kind of be careful about, making like Death Star units and things like that. So basically, though, as long as you're not doing this all the time, but like if you're wanting to try out a new tactic, definitely go ahead for this. So, but like a perfect one, for example, is a Thunderhammer Storm Shields for Terminators. Pop them in a drop pod or something like that. Bring them in turn 2 and drop them next to their HQ or their biggest unit, or kind of their powerhouse unit, and get them in there and get them knocked out. That is going to be definitely, they're immediately going to be worried about that. They're going to be worried about losing their HQ or that unit that's really helping them take out, like if someone builds an army that's based around like a bunch of weaker units, but then they have one really strong unit that's taking out all your guys, one after the other. Take out that unit. That unit is going to bring them off their pedestal of power, and it's going to kind of like demoralize them in a way to where they're not going to feel above you. It sounds silly, but you'd be surprised. It will change how people play. Some people might play more aggressively whenever they have those power units on the field, and the second you take them off, they're going to start getting worried, so they're not going to be thinking as clearly. Things along those lines. So, unit selection. Staying on the offensive is definitely a big one, no matter what. And this is a high risk type situation. So no matter what, stay aggressive toward your opponent. Not physically, please do not harm them. I guarantee you they will not want to play you again. But make sure that you're pushing them. Make sure that you're pushing and attacking their bigger, heavier units, and moving forward your models and other things like that. Don't let them, get the upper hand on you. So, if they start outflanking you or something like that, outflank them back. Or swing your units around and kill that unit off, and make sure that they can't swing around and get you from behind, or like if they, deep strike something in later, or teleport something in, or whatever they end up doing. Make sure to take care of that threat. Obviously, you got to be smart about it. If it's not something that's going to be a huge factor to you, don't sweat it. I mean, if it's a small, combat squad of tactical Marines or something goofy like that with a rocket launcher, I mean, obviously be careful, but I mean, don't flip about it. But just kind of keep them on their toes, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Geez, what else did I read? Oh, another thing you can kind of do that will help better your chances against your enemy is splitting your army. By splitting up your army, you are going to have to, and the more you split it, if you can afford your characters to take the hits and stuff like that, splitting your army is a good idea. Instead of running them at you in a blob formation, it kind of forces them to split up, what do I want shooting at what? Because if I take this out, then this won't be able to get to me, and yada yada, and so on and so forth. So split up your army in a way where you don't have all your tanks on one side and all your troops on the other, but kind of like evenly spread them out. If you can, don't focus all your power units on one area of the table. Maybe use a power unit to take out a really weak opponent unit. I mean, it'll kind of surprise them and kind of, like I said, keep them on the toes. You kind of want to worry your opponent with what you're doing. Don't give away, what you're doing until the last minute. So if you're wanting to flank an opponent, maybe instead of, immediately going towards that direction of where you're wanting to flank them, start bringing, sorry, it's going to get hairy here in a second. Maybe instead of immediately going in the direction of what you're wanting to do, move your tank towards the enemy, and then go around the side of a building or something like that where they can't shoot at you, and they're more worried about that tank getting around that side of the building, so they're going to avert their troops and reveal either side armor or rear armor or things along those lines. So definitely give out distractions. Jeez, what else? I had something in my head, I apologize. Hey, back again, sorry. Had to stop for a minute to think for a little while on other tactics that you could use. One thing I would be looking forward to, make sure we're recording, is if you're going to bring a horde army, make sure that half of it isn't going to die before it gets across the field. So let's say you bring, it's easy. It's going to be easier with like orcs or Astra Militarum because you're going to be able to make them mobile. Tyranids not as much. If you are going to do like a horde type army, maybe focus on having more like gargoyles and termagants instead of hormagaunts, because even though hormagaunts can be awesome with their bounding leap and stuff like that, maybe make it where your opponent's more nervous because all of your termagants have devourers. So I'm pretty sure that's 36-inch 3-shot, assault. I think it's assault. Yeah. Weapons, I believe. So I mean, really think about that. That can be really intense because if you're laying down, if you have a massive group of like 30 hormagaunts, that's 90 shots. So I mean, you're gonna definitely have to get some numbers written down on how many shots you got off the first time with the first 30 guys, and do that 3 times. I know one thing, especially if you're playing like a strong power army like Space Marines like that, so they have fewer units but they're really strong, and you face some sort of foot slogging army. Like I personally one time played an Astra Militarum player that had, what was it? It was like, I think in total he had like 100 or so guardsmen just straight chilling. And literally it took so long for him to get all of his shots off that we had to end the game by like the end of turn 3 because it was just obnoxious. And he was literally, I mean, even though those shots were weak and were barely doing anything, I mean, he was able to take out like my scout sniper team, and he obviously had some heavier guns in there, like an autocannon and some other stuff. So he was slowly but surely taking on my tactical squads, my Terminators, and even glancing on my Land Raider and things like that. So bringing horde armies against those fewer units, but they're stronger armies like Space Marines and I don't know, Eldar are going to be a little bit more like that too. It definitely kind of puts okay, well, I have to be able to survive this volley of shots and this volley of shots before I can even kill, 5 or 6 of his guys. So even though his guys are going to be easier to kill, it's going to take a lot longer to whittle them down. So bringing horde armies against the stronger units of other armies is definitely going to put a damper on the tactics, because it's also kind of like one of those things on, where do I go? Because there's so many of them across the board, you can literally fill one whole side of the board, and they're not going to be able to kind of maneuver really all that much. They pretty much just have to stand there, get into cover, and shoot, and hope that they can do well. So that's definitely another tactic that you can look into. You can kind of also use your horde armies as almost literally a wall of bodies to protect your powerhouse units. So let's say you have a couple of Lehman Russ tanks, like a command squadron. So you have your 2, your 3 Lehman Russes chilling back there, and then you literally have a wall of 60 bodies in front of it. Nothing's going to be able to shoot it for a while, and even if they do shoot it gets I want to say a 3+ cover. It's a good save. I mean, in comparison to, because they're having to shoot through all those other guardsmen. So, just an idea, horde armies, and yeah. So, those are just some of my ideas. I apologize the video wasn't too terribly extensive. I know it was kind of simple, but hopefully some of those tactics on psychologically freaking out your opponent with, powerhouse units, horde armies, definitely staying on the offensive and being, keeping your opponent on their toes. Don't just run straight across the field and, hope that they're just gonna kind of bow down to whatever you're doing. So, just stay different, guys. Add variety to your armies by adding flyers, things like drop pods and stuff like that are tactically going to give you a smaller advantage over your opponent eventually. So anyways, guys, have an awesome day. Hope this was a good start to your week on a Monday, and I'll see you guys later this week.